We will tear your souls apart.
Welcome everyone to Creatures of the Night. I am Wolfman Sam, here with my host, Johnny Buff Guns.
Hello everyone.
Hello. John, you want to start us off?
Yes, I want to start this podcast saying about how we're going to talk about Re-Animator and Return of the Living Dead, both turning 40 years this year. Can you believe it?
Yeah, time sure flies.
It does. And
Jaws, and it's funny that I have the shirt on, but Jaws just turned 50 not too long ago.
That's right. That was the last podcast we did about
Jaws. So, it's definitely, in terms of early 80s and 70s horror films, they're getting up there. They're getting into real legendary status.
Yeah, they're hitting big milestones.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But, I mean, what could be said? I guess we'll start with Re-Animator.
Yes.
First, but what can be said about Re-Animator that hasn't really already been said? I love the character of Herbert West. The actor, his name escapes me for a minute. Jeffrey Combs. Super underrated actor. One of those journeyman type actors, a la Bruce Campbell, Bill Moseley. Just every performance he ever put out is great. There's another kind of what I consider a companion piece called From the Beyond, which is another not H.R. Geiger type thing, but Lovecraft.
Right.
Another Lovecraft story adapted as well as Re-Animator was an adaptation of sort of a Lovecraftian story of the dangers of kind of meddling with what should not be meddled with.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I couldn't shake the feeling that it's kind of a marriage. The film is kind of a marriage between Evil Dead and Frankenstein.
A little bit.
Which, no surprise that they later had Bride of the Re-Animator, but
right, true, very true. Well, it's like one of those almost close faithful adaptations of H.P. Lovecraft's story of
especially when it comes to the dialogue as well. Nobody but Jeffrey Combs could have played that role.
I agree,
as sincerely as he did. But he's one of those guys. Doesn't really matter the script. He puts it all. And I would love to see. Not to get off topic in terms of the horror, but I would love to see a Question movie, just with Jeffrey Combs as the voice.
I could see that. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, the only difference with between this and the short story, this takes place in modern day 80s, whereas the story took place back in maybe I think the early 1900s, but don't quote me on it. It's been a while since I've read the book of.
It would be interesting if they were to. Now, I'm not one for remakes, but it would be interesting if they were to ever adapt it in its correct time period. But it'd be interesting. But
I think it works out perfectly with this film, with the modern 80s and stuff.
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, it's
especially how when you think about it, people have always been saying this since forever, and I'm not a doctor or anything, but having my father who was a medical doctor, it's people think, wait a minute, how come we're in this century, this decade, how come things are still not improved? Well, that's medical science for you.
Well, it's also kind of a cautionary tale. Be careful what you wish for. Basically,
that's true. No, that's very true.
I've always interpreted. Now I know it's just fiction, but I've always interpreted people wanting to kind of play God in fiction.
Yeah.
It's kind of true to life, because people always wanting to bring people back to life or improve, right? And it always seems to go wrong. So I know it's just fiction, but I kind of always take that to heart.
Right. I'm not a doctor, but I understand it's not easy, the life of a doctor, having witnessed and seen how it's not easy.
Oh, yeah.
The guy, what was that character's name? Who Herbert West that he lived in with as a tenant.
Oh, I forget.
Wait, hold on a second. I'm just gonna look it up quickly. Sorry.
Google it.
Yes, they didn't have Google in the '80s. No such thing. Oh, it
That
was
was
Doctor. Well, actually, he was an internist. He really tried his best to bring this one patient that died, and it's not that he tried, but in the end, it's like this person. It was their person's time to go.
right,
Yeah,
right.
and he was a little bit skeptical about Herbert West's invention, but then it's like he was fascinated with it. But then, of course, that kind of took over his life and also drove apart him and his fiance that he wanted to marry too.
Right, right, and that's the thing. Like, it's a dark,
It is.
film. It definitely kind of goes past the R rating a little bit. Like I
Oh
said,
yeah,
it has a lot more in common with like Evil Dead than it
yeah,
does Frankenstein. Like
yeah.
I said, it was kind of the film that picked up where Evil Dead left off
Right,
at the time.
right. The other thing about Herbert West is that I guess he was going to med school somewhere in Europe, but then he transferred. No matter, I mean, he's a smart, intelligent guy, but I feel like every time he took a class, everything was just used. He thinks that everything the teachers were teaching were like useless and what you're not gonna
Well, it's funny given the kind of zeitgeist that we have now of like he would kind of fit into today's world as well.
I guess to
You
some
know,
degree.
in a sense. But
Yeah,
I don't know. I always thought the character was very fascinating. The character of Herbert
yeah,
West.
yeah. I agree. I agree. But the only thing I could not understand is after when he killed that professor that he had who wanted to blackmail him, why did you bring him back if he was going to blackmail? I don't get it.
Because sequels. I don't know. We got to make the money.
Yeah. And it's funny how, what's his Dr. Kane's girlfriend, or fiance, I should say, where's my cat? But little did she know that what happened to the cat.
Yeah, yeah, and yep.
If you
Be
like
careful
cat,
what you wish for.
yeah,
Would be
pretty much.
that would be the tagline for
Yeah.
Re-Animator for
Yeah.
sure.
And I have to address the elephant in the room about the professor. He has a lust problem for Dr. Kane's fiance, who is the daughter of
Yes,
the head of the
yeah,
school.
yep. There's a whole scene to that effect.
Yeah,
And yeah, like I said, I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but like in terms of tone, it's definitely where picked up where Evil Dead left
yeah.
off in
Well, just
terms
like
of
Evil
tone.
Dead, it's another gore fest.
Yeah, there's some great effects.
Yeah,
I still say they still hold up.
absolutely. Very over the top, but in a very good way, though.
Oh yeah, for sure, for
Yeah.
sure. Is there anything else you want to add about the film before we move on to our next one?
Let's see. Let me see if I got what I said on my notes. Let's see.
He has notes, folks.
This. Oh yeah, that Megan's father is kind of a douchebag sometimes.
Yeah, yeah.
Especially-
It's been a while since I've sat down and watched the film, but
Yeah,
from
I
what I
recently
can
watched
remember,
it
yeah,
recently.
yep.
Yeah, I remember my first view. I'm like, what the hell did I just watch? Like
Well, yeah, it's one of those films you're just like, when you watch it the first time, it's like watching the original Evil Dead. It's just
yeah,
it's a complete gore fest, and even by today's standards, it can be kind of shocking,
right,
depending on your palate and your taste.
right.
Yeah.
Did you ever read the Lovecraft novel to this?
I never got around to reading much Lovecraft. I know
Right,
like I said before, there is another Lovecraft story called From the Beyond that is adapted. That
right,
also has Jeffrey Combs in it. Great film if you guys have ever seen it.
right,
Great film. And if you're looking for more Re-Animator stuff, that's where you should start. Is From the Beyond.
right. Especially how it was directed by Stuart Gordon, who trying to think, what else did that guy do that
Yeah.
comes to
I,
mind?
I think I might have miss said the title. I think it's just called From Beyond, not from the
Right.
Beyond. I think it's from Beyond.
Right. Okay. Oh, yeah, you're right. You're right. And also, he did Dolls, which I saw a year ago.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Dolls is
that was
great.
very good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, love me some Full Moon.
Right. And sadly, he's no longer with us. He passed away 5 years ago. We miss you, Stuart Gordon.
Yeah. I still can't believe. On a side note, Ozzy.
Yeah, that's true. Not to get off topic, Ozzy Osbourne recently passed away, and Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, at the time of recording this, I know you're probably going to stitch this together for the Oktoberfest, but
Yeah,
at the time of recording this,
that's all right. Yeah. Even though this is about Re-Animator and Return of the Living Dead, we'll still add some other parts of this podcast for the fun of it. And I think I just about summed up everything for Re-Animator. The one thing I will say, this is like probably the only one of the few things I read of Lovecraft, and it was very good. It's worth checking out. But of course, like everything from books to movies, big changes.
Right.
But it worked out pretty well for this movie. But it's been a while since I read the book to Lovecraft.
Right. Yeah, I still got to dig into some Lovecraft myself in terms of the literature, but one thing after another.
Yeah. I guess now we can go on to Return of the Living Dead.
Return of the Living Dead. Now, like that's definitely a good segue. Now I loved this film just of how I guess you can call this like a non-serious or just a goofy kind of zombie movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it also has one of the, and I'm always a soundtrack nut.
Yes.
Has one of my favorite psychobilly bands.
What's that? Sorry.
Yeah, it has one of my favorite psychobilly bands, the Cramps, on the soundtrack. They do the song "The Surfing Dead."
Right.
And it adds to the goofy kind of campiness.
Yeah.
For those of you that have not seen it, it is I wouldn't say too gory of a gore fest, but it's definitely a more like goofy kind of Dawn of the Dead, Night of the Living Dead kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's got some great special effects.
Yes.
It doesn't take itself too seriously, and I love what they do with the zombies in that, like, necessarily killing the brain doesn't necessarily kill the zombie.
No, it doesn't.
Like, they're basically ever living, which makes them more threatening.
Right.
And just it's a goofball, It's a goofball type movie. You have 80s punks running around and stuff like that, and I love when they get the first zombie in the lab, and they try to kill it, but the thing won't die.
Right.
But it's played for laughs, and it's probably the first like zombie kind of dismemberment that is completely played for laughs.
Right.
Because it's just it's almost like a Three Stooges kind of thing.
Yeah. Again, another Evil Dead 2 type of vibe.
Yeah, but definitely not a serious, for sure. It's a very goofy type movie. Is there anything you want to add about that?
My first viewing of this was very surprising, especially like, wow, this is like, because when people think of Return of the Living Dead for that time, they thought, oh, they're thinking maybe it was done by George Romero. No, but
that was my first thought. When I first saw it, that was my first thought. I was like, does this have anything to do with George Romero?
It doesn't.
No, a completely different movie.
John Russo somewhat worked on it, but still, I'm not sure if he had full credit enough for taking part of this or not.
Yeah, and it like I said, if you're going in expecting George Romero, you're going to get that in terms of tone, but it's a much more goofy.
Yeah.
I would say lighthearted affair, but
to a degree. That's
to a degree. Like I said, it's completely tongue in cheek.
Well, especially how you had like these, like you said, group of punk rockers that were meeting up with their friend who worked in a factory of dead bodies.
And didn't they like dance in the graveyard or something?
Yes. The Lynn Quigley dances naked in the graveyard.
Yeah. Yep. And it's hard to believe. It's hard to believe that was Quigley, because isn't she primarily a blonde, or at that time was like
she is a blonde,
Farrah Fawcett looking blonde.
But I guess that was the whole point though of the character she played. Like she's a heavy metal punk rock chick who, like, I guess you could say was horny, I guess.
Yeah. On a side note to Miss Quigley, I had found an interesting piece of media. I think it was called, like, Heavy Metal Workout or something like that, like horror heavy metal workout.
I think I've heard of that, but I'm just it sounds.
But yeah, it's one of those like factoids of the '80s. You're just like, man, if I didn't think I'd love the '80s enough, here comes something else I love. You know, just the goofiness and the non-seriousness,
right,
and the fun.
And also, like, unlike the two characters who worked at the factory, they weren't necessarily like bitten by a zombie. It was more like some kind of like voodoo spell or something. Or
it was more spiritual kind of. Yeah, it's like I said, more Evil Dead kind of inspired almost. But also they had like. There was something to do with like some science experiment.
Yeah.
Because the one zombie that they found that was like a nuclear kind of experiment.
Yeah.
The famous brains.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, I'll never get over that just effect, the makeup of the zombies. They look like zombies.
Yeah.
And that this movie, along with The Thing, is definitely a masterclass in why practical effects will always be good, if not better than CGI.
Right. No, totally. Especially like you said, it was a very like interesting, like unique twist of what they did with the zombies. Like it's not like how in Romero's zombies they get shot and they die. It's more they're a little bit.
There's no way to kill them.
Right. They're very complicated to kill. They're not easy to kill.
Right.
Yeah, and they crave brains more than they do like the heart, the liver, the muscles.
They're more the kind of traditional. I wouldn't say traditional zombie, but the more the traditional like zombie saying. I think they coined the whole like zombies eating brains kind of thing that we always associate with them in fiction.
Right. And even though despite this is not Romero, but yet they still like make a reference to George Romero when there's a scene where the new employee and the guy who was like where he's in training was mentoring him, saying like, "Did you ever see that movie Night of the Living Dead? Supposedly it was a true story. They wanted to cover it up."
Well, I do like that wink and a nod.
Yeah,
and I think that's why a lot of people, when they watch this movie, they think it's part of the Romero series. Which, I mean, you can kind of, for fun, like, make that fan connection as we do.
Yeah.
But, it's not really. It has nothing to do with anything George Romero. But I do like that wink and a nod. I forgot about that, actually.
Yeah. Well, because I watched it last night for preparation for this, so, it was a nice refresher.
Right.
Yeah. And I also felt bad how, like, the girl who was the boyfriend of who worked at that factory, like, she was basically losing the love of her life. Like, no, I don't want him to turn into a zombie, but unfortunately, it was bound to happen. He was infected. There was no cure for him. Sad to say it.
Yep. And
sorry, lady.
They built that up. I remember they built that up, and it was pretty interesting.
Oh, it was, and I also think it's funny how like these punk rock were they teenagers or?
It's teenagers by 80s logic.
All right, well, anyway,
besides 80s logic.
Besides the point, basically, it was like the last thing they expected to be the heroes, where they had to stop and save the world.
Yeah. It's definitely a classic in that regard, for sure.
Yeah. Miguel Nunez is cool in it too, and
yeah.
But when you watch the film, even though it's not real, it has. You can compare it a little bit to like Night of the Living Dead to some degree, with like similar like the elements of like the scenes that.
It's there. It's like, there. There's a lot of wink and nods to Night of the Living Dead.
Right, like when when the zombies are trying to get in the warehouse, they're like trying to cover it up or block it. I'm like a little Romero.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
And I read that supposedly Romero was offered to direct this, but what happened was. They were trying to contact him, but he didn't get the message, I guess.
Oh, what could have been. But like I said, it's a great film.
Absolutely.
It really is. For those of you who have not seen it, go see it. It's definitely
especially
a zombie classic.
Knowing you, Wolfman Sam, horror, heavy metal, your alley, right up your alley.
Oh, yeah. Like I said, it was the movie that was responsible for introducing me to bands like the Cramps and other bands on that soundtrack. But it's that constant ping pong match between punk rock, heavy metal, and horror. It's peanut butter and chocolate.
Right. My favorite combo. But
Yep.
I also read that despite how even though this film has a big following, but during the making, it sounded like a nightmare because of the actors did not get along with Dan O'Bannon because saying he was difficult.
Right, I remember
especially
hearing that.
They're making this in a cemetery and it's raining. Of course, it's going to be a pain in the ass.
Yeah, and like I said, weather conditions, all that stuff, and I would imagine every time they would have to reset or reshoot a scene.
Yeah, but believe it or not, Lynn Quigley said she was okay. Like, she was one of the few actors that got along well with him, didn't have any problems with him whatsoever. I guess depends on who you work with. I guess
it depends.
Kudos to Lynn for having a decent working relationship with Dan O'Bannon. Yeah.
Go figure.
Yeah. And also, I don't know how true this is. The scene when she's dancing topless in the cemetery. I heard a different I'm not sure it was the original song they used when it came out. In recent years with home video, they've had to re-edit it because of a certain music copyright. But
who knows?
Yeah, who knows? It's just one of those you'll never know the answer about how when people saw it back in the 80s. What was the original song? Who the hell knows?
Who knows?
Yeah. Interesting trivia right there, but I don't know how 100% accurate that is and what the real song is in that scene.
Yeah, that would have to be something you'd have to research, and that's something for the fans to find out, honestly.
Yeah, because that's the problem. Even though despite certain a movie or show, when it comes to the music, it's always the legal BS stuff they have to solve.
Right, especially now. I mean, I don't know. I feel like copyright people have been cracking down now, and it just kind of is sort of ridiculous at this point, especially films that are over 40, 50 years old.
Yeah. Only exception is films that are over 100 years old, where there was no such thing as they didn't think back then about who owned what movie or what music back then.
Right, and that was kind of a detriment. That's why a lot of old school horror films go into public domain.
Right. Well, especially here's a little. I don't know if I mentioned this before in the past, but since we're talking about Return of the Living Dead and Romero, I met an actress who I worked with years ago on an indie film back in 2018. Right. During the making of the film, I was talking to her, acquainted with her, getting to know her. She was a very nice, friendly, chit-chatty lady. She asked me, what are your hobbies and interests? And I said, I love horror movies. And she asked me, did I ever see Night of the Living Dead? I'm like, yes, I did. And she told me she knew Dwayne Jones. And she said the reason why Night of the Living Dead ended up in the public domain, a studio was going to distribute it, but the label somehow mysteriously fell off. They couldn't find the label, and that's how Night of the Living Dead ended in the public domain.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting, but
it is.
Copyright, mumbo jumbo, legalese, that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
it happens. It happens in the film industry, unfortunately.
It does, but that's how Night of the Living Dead ended in the public domain. It was supposed to be distributed, but the studio could not find that label for some reason. So they said, okay, they figured, okay, it's public domain then. So that's how it ended up.
And now it's on every horror box set that you can pick up. I own, unintentionally, I think I own 3 copies. It's on every box set.
Right. Well, I told somebody that not just I could make my own copy of Night of the Living Dead if I wanted to, but that's not going to happen, though. I wish.
Yeah.
Then I'd be rich.
Well, you have to copyright it, but then again,
film buff, Night of the Living Dead DVD quality.
I'm sure there's a lot of remasters and.
Oh no, I know about the 30s, the 90s 30th anniversary edition, but I've never seen. I've heard about. It's bad reputation. How they basically it's not a remake. They semi just added scenes that were cut from the movie. They just did their own version, but I heard it wasn't the best quality to it.
Well, I can imagine it's kind of Frankensteining scenes from that are in the future, 50 years in the future, or something like that.
Yeah, totally.
Anyway,
did you ever see the sequels to Return of the Living Dead?
I saw the second one, and the second one was like watching the first one kind of all over again. Okay. I always confuse it for the first one.
Right.
not really that memorable. The third one is where it gets weird. I believe the third one is with the girl. She
Right.
gets transformed into a zombie, and there's some cool ideas there, but it kind of falls flat.
Right.
Again,
Gotcha.
not really memorable. Not really, other than the girl kind of having a cool design and
Right.
sort of being a semi-interesting character. Other than that, it's not really that memorable.
Gotcha. Because I never seen any of the sequels, so I can't make a comment on those.
Yeah, I mean, in my personal opinion, they're not really worth the watch.
Fair.
But I know people like the third movie.
Right. Junk food movies.
Yeah, junk food movies.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nope. Like I said, maybe I'll check them out for curiosity, but will I do videos on them? We'll see. I make no promises, people.
Another time, another eon, or I couldn't find the words.
That's okay. Since we've talked about Re-Animator, Return of the Living Dead, now at this point, let's just miscellaneous talk about whatever's on our minds of what we've seen recently or anything in particular.
Anything in particular? Well, I mean, I did rewatch. I mean, this is not really in our horror theme, but I did rewatch Benny and June, romantic comedy with.
I've heard of that.
With Johnny Depp, really cute movie. And I finally got around to watching Only the Lonely with Johnny.
I've seen that. That is a good movie.
John Candy and Ali Sheedy.
Yes.
And I mean, it's a really good movie. A lot of heart to it.
Yeah.
Those of you that have not seen it, that could be a recommendation. But
Right.
Benny and June and Only the Lonely,
Right.
romantic comedies.
Well, since also we've mentioned before, anything you want to comment about Ozzy Osbourne, Hulk Hogan's recent
I
passing?
mean, for me, Ozzy was kind of, I wouldn't say shocking, because it's like, it's Ozzy. Ozzy done so much drugs and all that stuff.
Right.
So when it happened, it was like, I kind of knew he was going to go.
Right.
I knew he was in bad shape. It
Right.
is sad that
Yeah.
he's gone, but we will always have the music and some of the movies he was in.
Yeah.
And Hulk Hogan, what could be said about Hulk Hogan that already hasn't been said? Without Hulk Hogan, there would not be a WWF,
Like,
WWE.
I never watched WWE, but I know Hulk Hogan is because he's a big icon. Like,
Right.
it's like similar how, like, if you're not a baseball fan, everyone knows who Babe Ruth is. That's what Hulk Hogan was. He was the Babe Ruth.
Right. And I mean, before Hulk Hogan came onto the scene, WWF was literally a fly-by-night kind of, only on the territory local wrestling circuit.
Right.
After Hulk Hogan, WWF became an institution. Everybody knew who he was, in and outside of movies.
Right.
So
I've never seen any of Hulk Hogan's, but I've heard about some of them, like Mr. Nandy and Suburban Commando.
yeah, I saw Mr. Nanny a long time ago, and it's a goofy movie.
Right.
And he always popped up in other movies too.
Right.
As well.
I think they should have made Hulk Hogan like an action hero, kind of like Arnold.
Well, they tried with Suburban Commando and everything like that, and he even had his own TV show. I think it was called.
Really?
I think it was called something Thunder.
Interesting.
I don't remember, but yeah, he was a big name. They tried to make him an action hero.
Right.
He wasn't on the same level as Schwarzenegger, but
right. Gotcha. Well, also we remember his small cameo in Rocky 3, where
Rocky 3, Gremlins.
Yo, you're right. Gremlins 2. You're right. You were absolutely right. But I remember when I saw Rocky 3 for the first time when he wrestles Hulk Hogan, I'm like, what the hell? Like, what was the point of this?
Well, because they were both huge names at the time.
Right.
And I mean, you can't talk about movies without mentioning No Holds Barred.
Right.
No Holds Barred was kind of the wrestling answer to, like, Rocky and stuff like that.
Right.
And oddly enough, and this is why I love wrestling, so Vince McMahon, around the time No Holds Barred came out,
the name.
actually took the actor Tiny Lister and made his character from the movie Zeus into a wrestler, and they actually had a wrestling feud.
Right.
And I'm like, I love wrestling so much because it's the only sport where you could take a fictional character, right, like Zeus from those whole bars, and say, yeah, he came out to the movie to actually challenge Hulk Hogan, even though his character in the movie was called like Rip Thorn or whatever.
Right.
But it's just that kind of goofiness. Same could be said for a movie called Ready to Rumble with David Arquette.
Right.
WCW did what they did in that movie, and they made David Arquette for real the world champ.
Right.
in WCW.
Well, for me, the closest for like wrestling was that movie, The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke, where it showed like, the dark side of like the industry and how this wrestler who was big.
And it's funny that you mentioned that movie because I just got around to seeing it for the first time.
Oh, really? What'd you think?
And it's great. It's great. It does remind me a lot, and I'm glad he's on the right track. It reminds me a lot of what Jake the Snake Roberts went through.
Right.
There's a great documentary called The Resurrection of Jake the Snake Roberts.
Right.
And basically what happens in that movie, for better or for worse, is exactly what happened to Jake the Snake Roberts, minus the, spoiler alert, death.
Right.
Or implied death. Right.
Right. Well, that's basically the whole point, because he died because in the wrestling ring he was somebody, but off the ring, nobody. He felt like he had no other identity.
Yeah, and it really shows just the toll in terms of, because keep in mind, wrestling is fake, yes, but they're glorified stuntmen.
Yeah,
they get hurt. If they do a move wrong, or pull muscle or whatever, they get hurt, and a lot of them get addicted to alcohol and painkillers because of that pain.
It's similar to like football, but probably 10 times worse. But I don't know, pick your poison.
Yeah, it all depends. It all depends. But that movie, in particular, really captures the darker, the less glamorous side of wrestling.
We're talking about Ozzy and Hulk Hogan. I remember when I was a kid, the first Ozzy song I ever heard was Crazy Train in Summer Camp. They used to play that song every day to wake us up, to get us in the spirit and the mood.
Right, yeah, Crazy Train, of course.
Yeah, and my older sister used to watch his reality show, The Osbournes, back in the 2000s.
Yeah, the Osbournes, I remember.
Yeah, and also remember he had a cameo in this third Austin Powers movie where
that's right.
Boobs! These filmmakers, they're making the same blanket jokes they did in the last Austin Powers movie. Ozzy Osbourne criticized and they're using the same jokes again.
I gotta watch that movie again.
Yeah.
It's been forever since I've watched Austin Powers.
I've rewatched all 3 Austin Powers movies here and there for a little fun, and they're fun.
Yeah, and I'm always reminded, he only really did a handful of movies. Trick or Treat is always kind of a funny little cameo he did.
Yes, you're right. Yeah.
Trick or Treat, I've mentioned
maybe
that movie on numerous occasions on the podcast. I'm talking about the 84, I think it's 84 or 86, not to be confused with the 2007 one, where Ozzy plays like an evangelist preacher. Like, he's a blink and you miss it preacher, but I find it really, really funny that of all people, Ozzy.
Right. Maybe in the future we'll do a podcast dedicated to Trick or Treat.
Absolutely. Yeah. That'd be a great podcast for Halloween.
Yeah, definitely.
I always say it's the horror film that time forgot. Super underrated. Great acting, especially for its unknown leads. And just a great soundtrack by Fastway.
Yeah, totally. Definitely.
It's, like I said, it's a nice companion piece to the 07 Trick or Treat. I watched them back to back.
Right.
But definitely super underrated.
Yeah. It's a film I've enjoyed going back to revisit every now and then for the fun of it. It's
it's if you like the 80s and you like heavy metal,
right?
It's like, man, I'm a big fan of Nightmare on Elm Street 3, and a little extra heavy metal in there.
Right.
Trick or Treat is for you. I believe it's from 86. I always say 84, but I think it's from 86.
Right.
But awesome movie and awesome merchandise as well.
Right.
Awesome too.
Merchandising.
Speaking of which,
What's that?
Spaceballs 2. I hear that it's coming out. I think, was it 2027? They're saying.
I don't. I don't know. It's like I feel like lately I'm like losing track of certain things. It's like
I know there's really only a handful of movies.
I know
it's going to date our podcast for sure.
Yes,
there's really only a handful of movies at this current time that I'm looking forward to seeing. I mean, for Christ's sakes, they had just remade Naked Gun with Liam Neeson.
It did well, but I'm not interested.
And I'm just like,
alone.
Pam Anderson is funny. I like Pam Anderson.
Okay.
But I don't think she'll be able to save that movie. And
no,
I don't think
neither will Liam Neeson.
I don't think Liam Neeson gets the same deadpan.
When I saw
Leslie Nielsen does.
When I saw the trailer, I'm like, he is not fun, not even close.
No.
Leslie Nielsen at war because he really was a goofball according to people who worked with him.
No, but it just it looks forced.
And in the words of Leslie Nielsen, the reason why Leslie Nielsen sucks, he faked every orgasm. I faked
only real Naked Gun fans are gonna get that. By the way,
yes,
that's a deep cut right there.
The first movie still makes me laugh, no matter how many times I revisit it.
Oh yeah, and even Lesser Fair is like wrongfully accused, I believe.
I never saw that, but I've heard about it.
Good stuff if you're looking for more Naked Gun kind of.
Well, especially I'm looking for more Leslie Nielsen funny thing. Even though like the scary movies, like I'm not a fan of those, but his parts were okay.
Oh, he was great. He was great. He was the best thing.
Yeah,
in, I think it was Scary Movie 4.
Yeah, because again, he puts up his A game, Leslie Nielsen, because he really was a goofball.
They're scrambling my brain.
Or like when he makes a announcement to like all the United Nations, and the sheep turns him naked.
Right. We're not so different, you and I.
Right. Or like in the second movie when he's like, "Get me the president. You are the president. That's better."
That's better.
Or in the superhero movie with great power.
Oh yeah, I'm always the superhero, but that's something we always forget.
Yeah.
About. But I love the scene where
it's not the best.
Like, I think I'm invulnerable, and he shoots his friend. He's like,
right. Yeah.
Like,
right.
Well, you're not.
Or like when he comes in, he accidentally shoots him with the whatchamacallit,
nail gun.
The nail gun. He goes, "How did you do that?" He goes, "It's easier than he looks." And he shoots Kevin.
Yeah,
Hart.
that's what I'm referring to. Yeah. No, it isn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway,
I met a guy who worked with Leslie Nielsen on Creepshow with Romero. He said that Leslie Nielsen was really a goofball, like in reality. Like he would prank his actors with whoopee.
Oh, absolutely. He would carry around a fart machine with him during interviews.
Shows that's why he was good at comedy, even though he was a serious actor.
Yeah, he started as a serious actor.
He was like Robin Williams in a way.
Yeah, he's like a reverse Robin Williams.
Right.
Started super serious.
Right.
And then goofball later on.
I am being serious. Don't call me Shirley.
Don't call me Shirley. All right. Is there anything else you want to add?
I want to talk about, let's see. I recently been on a binge with Criterion films. Like I watched Tokyo Story, excellent Japanese cinema film. 8.5 by Fedro Fellini. Wait, 1 second. I could be, sorry everybody. H and
Yes, do Google it.
Yes.
Give him a minute.
Correct, I'm right. It's Fedro Fellini. It's basically based on his life as a film director, but in a fictionalized way. What a film director.
All right, I'll have to check that out for sure.
No, it's really good. Very important, film and film history in general. It inspired a lot of filmmakers from that film.
Very cool.
Right.
Very.
And also some Charlie Chaplin films like Modern Times. You may have never seen it, but you'll recognize a certain image of it when you watch the film. Like, oh yeah, I recognize that image.
Right.
Yes. Right. Brazil by Terry Gilliam. Excellent sci-fi comedy dystopian film.
Yeah, I've heard of Brazil. I have to see it myself.
Yes. And I'm trying to think, what else did I see Criterion that... Oh yeah, Detour from the 40s, about a guy who leaves New York, leaves his past behind in New York City, trying to find a new life. But then he gets up in a guy who died by accident, who picked him up as a hitchhiker, and
right.
he meets this crazy woman who he pretends he's the guy who picked him up, but he wasn't. But I won't spoil anything. You got to go watch it.
I'll have to check it out.
And I recently, last night, well, this is not Criterion. I saw the body horror recently together, but with Dave Franco and Alison Brie.
Yeah, how was that?
It was really good. But again, another film you need a mental break from.
Got it. Not
to give too much away. It's about a couple that move to a small town, and basically they fall into like this cave, and their bodies are becoming one.
Yeah, it looked rather interesting. But,
yeah, it was. Yeah. Let's just say I don't love somebody that much to become one as a joke.
No.
No.
I'm my own individual.
Yes. No matter how hot women can be.
Yes. Amen.
Amen. Yeah.
All right, Johnny boy. Is there anything that we're missing you want to add?
No, not that I can think. I think I've summoned everything that we've. What about you?
Nothing I can add, but I guess on that note, as always, I've been Wolfman Sam with my co-host, my partner Johnny Buff Guns. We've been Creatures of the Night, and we'll see you guys next time.
See you soon.